Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today's exciting because we're building another RB. Everything's already laid out. I was here very late last night cleaning everything. This is the old RB25 that was in the 33.4. It's a Series 2 engine and it was great. The bottom end, super strong, never had any issues, and it held 460 horsepower for many years. Everything still looks really good, so we're not gonna be touching the bottom end. We're gonna be touching the head. Yes, my friends, you just tuned into a video of Sam doing a head job on an RB.
Head only.
Head only, yes. What we've got here is the head back. As you guys know, this thing was burning a ton of oil because all the valve stem seals and the valve guides were shot. All of that stuff in a head is a consumable. On SRs, on RBs, a lot of engines, people really don't understand that the springs and everything in the valve train are consumables and they do need to be changed. So when you do get an opportunity and you have that head off, send it off to get it all worked on, get your valves redone. Also, brand new springs is a must. On a lot of RBs, the springs, the stock ones just get tired. Same thing with SRs. Replace your valve guides, put some fresh valve guide seals on there, and she's gonna be running mint. The biggest thing in SRs that actually shoots the rockers off is mainly because the exhaust valves are super loose and got a lot of play, so everything's kind of moving around and going crazy in there like that. Anyways, there's a lot of talking, but as you can see, we've got pretty much the necessities here for any good RB. Head studs, cams, just pond cams, drop-in cams, the valve springs, and a 1.2 mil metal multi-layered gasket. Everything else is just Nissan OEM seals, and then we slap everything together. But first, we've got to do the little twisty, tappy thing with the valves. What's that called again? I don't remember, but let's get to it. So while I start lapping the valves, that's right, it came to me when I started doing it. You're probably wondering, you know what, maybe I just won't do that while I'm talking. You're probably wondering what this engine's for. And you're gonna see at the end of the video what car this is going in. Some of you, I think, are gonna be super happy and super stoked. Others might be a little upset. And you'll understand why when we get there.
It's going on my Swift.
Definitely not. I'm on number 5 of the exhaust valves, and the total of valves is 24. So we still have a long way to go, and this is gonna take probably at least 2 hours for me to finish. If this is your first time seeing someone do this is called lapping the valves. And this is like the last step that you really have to do when it comes to assembling the head. When you get it back from the machine shop, usually, you know, they may cut the valves and everything for you. You should still do this because this is like that final stage of just making sure everything is perfect. And it's not like you're machining the head and the valve like crazy. You're actually just like taking out the tiniest bit of material to make sure there's a perfect seal there. It's just like the final nice step that you do. There's a bunch of different techniques to it. There's some tools that you can get that plug into your air compressor or battery operated that just spin it and do it, everything. I've always done it by hand, which is just, you know, you get your little suction tool. I should really get a better one than this. And while you do a couple sessions of tapping it and twisting it around, you then want to get in there with the hands and spin it around. All that kind of stuff. Anyways, you get the gist of it. It's very straightforward. I have a lot of valves to do, so I'm gonna do that and then we'll move on to the next step.
So what's that you're putting on?
So this is a cutting compound. Easiest way to think about it is it's like, you know, if you polish your paint to get scratches out of it, it's kind of the same thing. This is probably just a lot more coarse. And there's different grades of it too. But this is, ooh, we should put a little bit of oil in there. So she's loose. We don't want to scratch our new valve guides. So yeah, this is just, you put it on the edge of the valve, slaughter in there, work it out. And like I said, like it's kind of like taking any imperfections out whatsoever, making sure there's a perfect seal between the valve and the head. So we're now finished with all the valve lapping, and what I'm doing now is putting the valve stem seals in. This is what failed in the previous engine and why this thing was burning so much smoke, as well as the valve guides. So being able to put some freshies in Hear that? Did you hear the sound difference change from like it being a soft hit to then the ting? That means it's installed. Get yourself one of these if ever you're doing this job. They're so cheap. You can get these kits on Amazon for like 50 bucks or so. They're worth it because then you're actually not going to damage the valve stem seal. The last thing you want to do is put everything together and then damage a seal and it'd be busted. You have to pull everything apart again. No fun. Since we're building RBs, let me remind you that you can go grab the sick RB28 SAMMIT banner from SAMMIT.net. And at this time, it is also good to show you our brand new banners that have just released on the online shop, which is the mighty, this is kind of actually against an RB, but the 2JZ. So this engine and this graphic is actually based off the one in my FD car. We made the cover pink though because you can't do carbon fiber on this kind of banner thing. It's actually very, very hard to get right. But anyways, we went with that. Hope you guys like it. Go to SAMMIT.net and grab yourself one. I know a lot of you guys always say that, Sam, why is the shipping so expensive on the web shop? Let me just remind you, Japan. We do everything here and we are shipping it to you sometimes in 24 hours. It still blows my mind that people on the East Coast seem to get their merch within 24 to 48 hours of when we ship it. We use DHL, we use FedEx. So to save yourself some money, what I would recommend you do is grab a few items. That way the shipping is a lot cheaper and because it doesn't really go up once you add a few more items. So jump on that, go to SAMMIT.net, grab a bunch of items and you will get it crazy fast. It's pretty much parts overnight from Japan, but merch. That aside though, thank you so much for your support. Once again, go to SAMMIT.net. Let's get back into this RB. RB. It's like Arby's, you know, like the burgers and the fries place in the US that doesn't, like it's okay, but it ain't no Wendy's, but then Wendy's isn't that great either.
Okay.
And then, but Taco Bell and Baja Blast, oh my God, that was, I can still remember my first Baja Blast. I turned and I looked at Chris and I was like, can we get married so I can get a green card and just drink this every day? That's a real story.
A few moments later.
Head work is kind of like the most tedious thing, but if you like me and like doing things with your hands, it's very therapeutic. The entire time I've been down here just grinding and working on this, and I've just been thinking of like all these cool ideas, listening to music and all that type of stuff, processing everything that's happened this week, things that I'm planning to happen in the next few weeks. Speaking of, next week we get into this thing, which I'm really excited about. We should have the whole front end done in less than a week. I'm really excited for who's coming as well. I don't know if like it's been leaked anywhere yet, but it's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good. I'm super stoked. We're not only gonna get this done, we're gonna probably get a ton of other work done, a new rear end for the Chaser. Everything's gonna be happening next week. So that's why I'm trying to smash this out, because this is going in a car that this special person is going to be driving for Drift Matsuri. So it's gonna be super cool. Anyways, let's get this all together. Last few valves and we're ready to do it. So the springs of choice that we've gone with are the Tomei drop-in springs. They're an upgraded one from stock, and I've also said this before in other videos, but everything in the head is a consumable product. It's something that should be serviced, maintained, and replaced very regularly. Usually, after 100,000 Ks, everything gets kind of fatigued. The stock springs get a little sad, and higher RPMs, you might get valve float and all these kinds of issues. Valve stem seals fail, and the valve guides. So as I said before, the valve guides were changed in this. This is the old pack of them here from the machine shop. So we've got fresh ones in there. When the valve's in there, you don't want it moving around. And as I've hinted before, that's actually one of the main issues why rockers fall off in SRs. If they've got high miles and they've been dealing with a lot of back pressure and a lot of heat, the exhaust valve guides get a lot of play in them, and that really transfers to the top of the rocker with the little shim that the guide's trying to hold it in, and if the valve's bouncing around down here, well, you can get the gist of it. Anyways, that was a little bit of a side rant, but we just went with the Tomei ones, not sponsored or anything. They're just around the corner from my shop, and I found out I was building this engine and needed to get a car ready for Drift Matsuri literally yesterday. So that's why we are here. But one thing I wanted to show you is a lot of valve springs have a bit of paint on the bottom of it, and that's to let you know that, hey, this is the bottom of the valve spring, makes it easier. But generally what you want to do, your top of your spring, the spring kind of ends here, which is going counterclockwise, and the bottom is always going clockwise, like how the spring ends. So that's the bottom, that's the top, but look for the paint marker. Even the stock springs have a paint marker on it to indicate the bottom. So Now that we've gotten all of that information out of the way, I'm sorry if I bored you, but I just want to make sure we get a bit of info for you guys. And of course, I'm not an expert machinist, so don't take everything I say as the holy Bible when it comes to building engines. I'm still learning, and I'm sure there's some of you guys that are watching this video that are way more experienced than I am that could also probably tell me that I'm doing something wrong. But anyways, we're here and we're doing it. I'm gonna throw one of these guys in. Yes, I know, but I don't know if that was a fluke or not, because that thing is just...
It's happy.
It's very happy. Very, very happy. So valve's in. Because we have the valve stem seal in there, that means the valve's not gonna drop. We're gonna throw one of these little washers in. That's kind of, that goes between the head surface and the spring. That gets dropped in there. We make sure it's all G. Got my little tweezers here to line that up perfect. You should obviously put a little bit of oil on everything too, making sure everything's all good. Got my little squirt bottle, some H-gas oil. I'm gonna just kind of lube everything up. I will be putting assembly lube on things, but for the springs and retainers and everything, oil's fine. Yeah. Throw that spring in there. Now we have this little spring retainer. We're just using the stock ones, nothing crazy special. I am gonna put a bit of oil just on the top of the spring, so like that's not gonna scratch itself. Kind of, yeah, it's all layers. It's all layers. Now we got our little retainer clips. These little guys, putting these in is quite tedious. There are a few tricks of the trade, but I always find that just using a pair of tweezers to pick them up one at a time with the spring compressor tool is the best way to go about it. There are different tools out there, things that make it easier than others, but this is all I could get my hands on with the time that I had. So this is what we are using. This sits on the bottom of the valve and this compresses the top of the spring. So we're gonna set this up, put this in, and it is time consuming. You're gonna be here for a while, but it feels so good when you get it done. Trust me, it's worth it. Once you get the little clips in there around the recess of the valve, you can just simply unscrew and it should be there, done. And then generally what you wanna do is, we have this special, just like, it's like a rubber mallet, and you just wanna go and tap them all and make sure they're really seated in quite nice. And that just makes sure that they're not gonna pop out on you or anything like that. But that's the first valve done. Now what we gotta do is do that 23 more times. It's not overly complicated, it's just very, very tedious and time consuming. Just take your time, throw some beats on and go through it. And don't be afraid to triple check something if you're concerned. It doesn't matter how many engines I put together, I still open Google occasionally just to look at a photo to make sure everything's right.
A few moments later.
It's a little later now, it's like 10 p.m. We've been having a little bit of an engine building party. I've been working on a ton of other stuff and content in between this as well, but we're having a bit of a late night. Daikie's working on his new SR 2.2 liter, there's the block there, and he's just getting his fresh head sorted. But I've hit a big stalemate, a big roadblock. So I have never experienced this issue before, but anyways, I had everything ready. Head gasket was sitting on there. I started threading in all my new ARP, brand new, out of the box ARP head studs, right? And one of them, this guy here, just wasn't going in. And I'm like, that's getting too tight. I'm not gonna force that in the block. Something's not wrong. So then I took out the stud next to it and I tried to put that stud in there and it went in no problem. Then I went to try and put this stud in the other hole and same thing, it got super, super tight. I started looking at it, I'm like, this looks different. And then I put it side by side and I don't know if this is a manufacturing fault or if this is just an entirely different engine stud, but that's different there. That's completely different there. It's like, that's weird, that's like mushroom. So I wonder if it's a manufacturing fault. And then this is a different size when I measure it. So it's like half a mil off down here. So I don't know what happened, but that is the only stud in the entire kit that's wrong. Every other stud is fine and perfect. So, yep. I'm going to try and see if I can get a replacement stud or maybe a new stud. I don't know, a new whole box, I don't know. But I'm missing a stud and I'm not putting stock bolts in this. So I have two options here. I could wait for probably a week before a new box of studs would arrive, or I can just go to Tomei tomorrow or maybe on Monday morning and get a whole fresh set. I'm not too bothered by it. Obviously mistakes do happen, and to be completely honest, this assembly was going way too smooth and I was expecting something to happen at some point. It always does, it always does. You either forgot to order some kind of part or something, but yeah, I'll just get another set of these from Tomei tomorrow. Usually I buy these from the US and have them imported in because it's still way cheaper to buy them outside of Japan. Because once they're in Japan, you've got tax, import tax, and they also need to make money here. So generally the price of head studs over here is quite expensive. But anyways, I'll suss it out. I don't know if I can get some tomorrow, but worst case scenario, I know that I grabbed a couple sets of these for Meiku as well, so I could go and steal a box of theirs until the new one comes in for me. But anyways, we're one stud short. No point putting anything else together for today. We'll leave things as they are.
The next day.
Where we left off, we had that stud issue. But today, I called up my buddies at Tomei. They were there doing some stock take on the weekend, so we were able to get another fresh set. It feels so wrong taking one stud out of this set to just use with this set, but it's all good. That way we can get this engine together. I'm still mind blown over that, but one thing that the guys at Tomei did say is that recently they've actually been having the same issue with a lot of different kits, especially with the SR ones and some of the other ones that they sell. So just a quick heads up, make sure you guys double check that every stud is correct and nothing screws in. Like if something doesn't screw in correctly into the block, just don't try to force it whatsoever. It's most likely just the wrong stud or your threads need cleaning in the block. But we're now ready to set the head down on this. Feels good. I can't wait to bring this engine back. I think it's gonna be sick. So let's get that big boy there, onto there, and we should be mint. I'll set you guys down over here. Little bit of a cause for celebration. The head is now on, torqued to spec, and we are ready to start putting all the lifters and everything in, the cams in, get the timing belt and all of that on, and kind of get this thing situated and together. From there, it's then just covers and intake, exhaust needs to get slapped on, but for the most part, the engine is pretty much assembled. Let's just get that top part done, the timing done, and we'll be good. So I guess in the next few seconds, we'll have that done. And just like that, everything's together. I decided not to do the front timing stuff just because I have a nice PRP trigger kit coming and I'm gonna have to take the timing all off to install that. So we're gonna leave things as is. Cams, everything installed, everything all torqued to spec and marked. As you can see, we're pretty much good now. All that needs to kind of happen is that front timing stuff that I was talking about when the trigger kit comes. Intake manifold and all of that. We're gonna actually be modifying the intake manifold, but it's kind of it for the engine today. I've got some of the parts soaking, like the oil pan and the top covers, because I want to paint them and get everything nice and clean on the block, but that's pretty much it. So now that you've seen me pretty much put the engine together, I figured I would show you what car this engine is for. Now, previously I was hoping that engine was gonna end up going into the abandoned Skyline, which is next on the chopping block after we get the abandoned Sylvia fixed. But what I've decided to do is the engine that's currently in the 33.4, the Neo, the 500 horsepower, 500 torque one, will end up going into that car. So we're gonna be building a whole new engine for the 33.4. As I said to you previously, the current engine package that's in the 33.1 is kind of step one of bringing back that car. Step two is, body paint and a whole new engine, package build and all that type of stuff. So we're kind of on track for that. But what are we doing with this current engine? And that is, it's going in the Bogan 32. So the 20E has been a great engine. We proved a point. We had a lot of fun with it. It still hasn't broken. At some point, I'm gonna keep the engine and I'm just gonna throw it in a random S chassis or something, just for the memes. And I also wanna put a different cam profile in it. The cam profile that's in there is for drag racing, a bunch of E85 and a ton of boost in an RB30. If we get more of a mid-range cam, I think it'll actually make it a lot more drivable and a lot more like just kind of balanced, if that makes sense. But we're taking that engine out to put the 25 in there because this car is not only going to be, one, a car for people to drive at Matsuri and stuff if they can't get one, but two, it's also going to become my Meihan missile. I can't get my hands on a cheap, S13, S14, S15 right now, so this is going to fill that gap until I can get that car, and I think it'll work out really, really well. If I don't like how the Skyline double wishbone front end feels in it with the reverse knuckles, I can actually change it to S chassis S14 ones by drilling the strut tower, and then we can go throw some burst knuckles in there and make this thing feel like an S chassis. with an RB that's going to make 400 horsepower. So the goal is just a super reliable 400 horsepower RB, good drivetrain in the 4-door Bogan 32. So pretty much this thing's going to evolve into the posh Bogan edition. Anyways, I'm super stoked. Main reason why we started rushing this out is so that when the person comes that's helping us with the abandoned Silvia S15, that he has a car to be able to shred really comfortably at Ebisu. It's going to be a little bit of a shakedown as well, and then it'll go to Meihan and kind of chill there with Shane until we can come up with an S chassis down there. So yeah, I think this thing's going to live the life that it was always meant to, and that was a missile. But one thing I'm really excited about is bringing this car back, because we are so close to having the abandoned S15 finished that this will then be next on the chopping block. We've got all the aero for it, and just start piecing this thing together, and it's going to come out good. A little bit of an update for the Wagon is that I just got word that the Link ECU will be arriving for it Monday, Tuesday. So that's going to be awesome. We'll start wiring that in if we have time next week, on top of everything that's happening with the S15. I think the person that's coming is literally boarding their flight right now, which is crazy cool. And then this, we actually got a bunch of parts for this for the RB25 transmission. Okachan has the adapter plate here. So we got that. I also got the clutch for it. I got a brand new twin plate Nismo clutch that's going in this with the RB trans. Okachan says that's like the best one that feels the best. So we'll be doing that. And that's just because this thing's gonna be making a fair bit of power, and I don't want any drivetrain issues, and I want a nice shifter feel. So that's why we're going to that in this car, and then I can tidy everything up, tune it, and then get the body work done. Okachan already has a door and everything for me to slap on and go to the painter. New aero kit, done. Same aero kit that's on my FD car. And I'm also thinking about maybe putting the old FDJ2 livery on this with the water breathing style. I don't know, but I also kind of want to put the water breathing style on the Chaser.
Oh man.
Maybe we should do like the electric, the lightning style on this one. Maybe that would be cool. But anyways, I digress. Other than that, we're also hoping to have Daikis 2.2 finished this week, and hopefully sitting in the bay as well, and the rear of the Chaser fixed. I think my ADHD brain is trying to accomplish too much next week, but we'll see how we go in the videos. Don't forget to go to SAMMIT.net, guys. Grab the brand new 2JZ banner, the RB banner. I hope you enjoyed this video. More RB content on the channel. That's the engine that kind of got me into all of the whole JDM car scene and Japanese cars. So it feels good to be working back on RBs, my roots. But I've definitely grown over the last few years. I mean, we've got a 1,000 horsepower 2J, we've got a 1J behind me, we've got SRs everywhere, we've got a K6A and a K car. God, I don't even know what's next. But thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You know what? A Barra should be next. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
He said, son, when you grow up, would you be the savior of the broken, the beaten, and the damned? He said, will you